Hamburger steak and Salisbury steak. How these dishes differ breaks down the long-standing debate about two ground beef classics. From the great ground beef confusion to a tale of two origins, we'll trace how these dishes evolved and why they often get lumped together. We'll examine the meat of the matter, seasoning secrets, texture tales, and the binding agent battle to see what really sets them apart, along with cooking method madness and shape-shifting stories. Finally, we compare gravy game strong, serving style showdown, and the broader implications in the TV dinner revolution, modern menu mysteries, and international interpretations so you leave with a clear distinction. 1. The great ground beef confusion. When you're staring at a menu and see hamburger steak next to Salisbury steak, you might think they're the same dish wearing different names. After all, both are made from ground beef, served as patties, and usually come swimming in rich, brown gravy. But here's where things get interesting. These two comfort food classics are actually quite different from each other. The confusion makes perfect sense. These savory delights are at the heart of American cuisine and have captured many palates. While these two cuts share similarities in terms of their main ingredient, ground beef, Salisbury steak, and hamburger steak possess distinct characteristics that set them apart. Think of it this way. They're like cousins who look alike from a distance but have completely different personalities once you get to know them. 2. A tale of two origins. Hamburger steaks were made popular in the US when German immigrants brought the dish, known as Hamburg steak, across the pond in the late 19th century. Meanwhile, Salisbury steak originated in the US way back during the Civil War by Dr. Salisbury, who created the meal for soldiers on the front lines. The hamburger steak's story is really fascinating. German immigrants literally carried their Hamburg steak recipes in their hearts and stomachs when they crossed the Atlantic. Made popular worldwide by migrating Germans, it became a mainstream dish in the mid to late 19th century. Meanwhile, the Salisbury steak has a more American origin story. The Salisbury steak is named for its one and only originator, Dr. James Henry Salisbury. During the American Civil War, Salisbury was an early proponent of food as medicine, particularly with regard to tummy troubles. In contrast to conventional contemporary sentiments, Salisbury believed that vegetables were a detriment to gut health, and instead championed red meat as an antidote to common ailments. Imagine that. A doctor prescribing burgers as medicine. 3. The meat of the matter. Here's where things get really specific, and the differences start to matter. While both Salisbury steak and hamburger steak use ground beef as their main ingredient, they often differ in the type and cut of meat used. Salisbury steak traditionally calls for ground sirloin, which is a lean cut of beef known for its tenderness. On the other hand, hamburger steak can be made with pretty much any cut of beef, including chuck, round, or a bit of both. Ideally, cuts with slightly more fat content are used to retain moisture while cooking. This difference in meat choice isn't just about being fancy, it actually changes the final product significantly. Lean ground sirloin is normally used for Salisbury steak while burgers can, and should, be made from fattier cuts like chuck or round. It's like the difference between using premium gas in your car versus regular. Both will get you where you're going, but the experience is noticeably different. 4. Seasoning secret. If you've ever wondered why Salisbury steak tastes more complex than a hamburger steak, the answer lies in the seasoning game. Hamburger steaks typically only use salt and pepper for seasoning, while Salisbury steaks take the flavor profiles to the next level with ingredients like Worcestershire sauce, Dijon mustard, and fresh garlic cloves. It's basically the difference between a simple outfit and one with all the accessories. Salisbury steak often incorporates a mix of seasonings, including onions, Worcestershire sauce, and mustard, resulting in a layered and savory taste. The addition of these ingredients gives Salisbury steak a slightly tangy flavor profile. Meanwhile, hamburger steak tends to have a simpler flavor profile, allowing the natural taste of the beef to shine through. Some people prefer this simplicity. There's something beautiful about letting good beef speak for itself without too much interference. 5. Texture tales. The texture difference between these two dishes is something you'll notice immediately when you take that first bite. The texture of Salisbury steak and hamburger steak can also differ. Salisbury steak, with its combination of ground beef, breadcrumbs, and eggs, tends to have a slightly denser and more compact texture. The breadcrumbs and eggs help bind the ingredients together, resulting in a meaty texture that holds its shape well. Hamburger steak, on the other hand, is more loose and crumbly because it has little to no binders mixed in. Some people actually prefer this aesthetic because of the more homemade feel. A binding agent like breadcrumbs or even crushed crackers are needed to keep a Salisbury steak from crumbling, whereas a burger will contain no such filler. Think of hamburger steak as your casual Friday attire, relaxed and unpretentious. 6. The binding agent battle. This is where Salisbury steak really shows its meatloaf DNA. Another key difference is that these steaks also use egg and breadcrumbs for binding, similar to meatloaf. But unlike meatloaf, these steaks are served individually, similarly to hamburger steaks. The eggs and breadcrumbs aren't just thrown in randomly. They serve a crucial purpose in creating that characteristic dense, cohesive texture that Salisbury steak is known for. A Salisbury steak incorporates greater fillers such as breadcrumbs, sauces, onions, and an egg, whereas a hamburger steak solely carries salt and pepper. It's almost like Salisbury steak is the overachiever in the family, always trying to be more complex and sophisticated, while hamburger steak is content being straightforward and honest about what it is. 7. Cooking method madness. Even the way these dishes prefer to be cooked tells a story about their personalities. Salisbury steak is best cooked by pan frying or baking in the oven. These methods allow the patties to develop a caramelized crust while staying juicy inside. On the other hand, hamburger steak is preferred by many, grilled, pan-fried, or broiled. The smoky charred flavor is a trademark taste that everyone loves. The cooking method choice actually makes a lot of sense when you think about it. Hamburger steak, with its higher fat content and looser structure, benefits from the high heat and quick cooking of a grill. Salisbury steak, with all its binders and lean meat, needs gentler treatment to avoid becoming tough or dry. It's like the difference between cooking a delicate fish versus a sturdy steak. Different proteins need different approaches. 8. Shape-shifting stories. A Salisbury steak is also formed into an oblong shape, while a burger is, of course, made into the familiar patty recognizable all over the world. This might seem like a minor detail, but shape actually affects how the meat cooks and how it holds together on your plate. The oblong shape of Salisbury steak isn't just for show, it's a practical choice that helps the dense, bound meat cook evenly. The round patty shape of hamburger steak, on the other hand, is all about maximizing surface area for that beautiful crust formation. It's also a shape that naturally accommodates the looser, more crumbly texture without falling apart. Sometimes the simplest choices are the smartest ones. 9. Gravy game strong. Both dishes absolutely love their gravy, but even here there are subtle differences. You typically pan-fry hamburger steaks, like you would with Salisbury steaks, and then make a simple gravy to smother on top. The gravy is traditionally made up of beef stock, white or yellow onions, and mushrooms. Gravy is also a mainstay and typically includes mushrooms, onions, and beef stock or broth, similar to the gravy traditionally used with hamburger steaks. No matter what sort of veggies you go for, the gravy is important because it adds layers of flavor and ensures the meat isn't dry. Think of gravy as the great equalizer. It doesn't matter what differences these two steaks might have, they both become absolutely magical when properly sauced. A Salisbury steak would not be a Salisbury steak without its signature gravy. 10. Serving style showdown. The way these dishes show up on your plate tells you everything about their intended dining experience. Salisbury steak is served on a plate smothered in gravy, usually with mashed potatoes and a veggie side like broccoli or string beans. A burger is served more casually on a bun. Everyone chooses their own toppings, and French fries are the standard side. Salisbury steak is clearly the more formal dining experience. It comes to you complete and composed, like a finished painting. Hamburger steaks can be served on their own, but it's common to serve with mashed potatoes because it pairs well with the extra gravy spilling onto the plate, giving you a creamy and meaty flavor in just one bite. There's something wonderfully democratic about hamburger steak. It doesn't demand a specific presentation or particular sides. It's happy to be the star or play well with whatever you've got in the fridge. 11. The TV dinner revolution. One area where Salisbury steak absolutely dominates is in the frozen dinner aisle. If you were lucky enough, you may have first been exposed to Salisbury steak by one of the most convenient, affordable, yet satisfyingly tasty food inventions the world has ever seen: the TV dinner. One of the most popular frozen dinners out there, as any ready-made meal connoisseur knows, is the banquet classic Salisbury steak. Served alongside a few spoonfuls of corn, a sweet cinnamon apple dessert, and mashed potatoes that can be skillfully cooked to perfection in the hands of an experienced microwave user, the Salisbury steak comes complete with added char marks and a pool of delicious gravy. Hamburger steak, with its looser texture and simpler composition, never really made it big in the frozen dinner world. It's just too rustic, too made to order, to survive the freezing and reheating process with dignity and tact. Sometimes being fancy and structured has its advantages. 12. Modern menu mysteries. Walk into any American diner today and you'll likely find both dishes on the menu, but they're marketed to slightly different crowds. Today, Salisbury steak is usually served with a gravy similar in texture to brown sauce, along with various side dishes, such as mashed potatoes and cooked vegetables. It is a common menu item served by diners and is frequently available as a TV dinner in supermarket frozen food sections. Salisbury steak has positioned itself as the comfort food with a bit more sophistication. Hamburger steak, meanwhile, appeals to folks who want their comfort food honest and straightforward. It's the choice for people who appreciate the pure beef flavor without too many bells and whistles. Both have their place in the pantheon of American comfort food, serving different moods and different moments in our culinary lives. 13. International interpretation. Hamburger steak is a popular dish in Japan. It is made from ground meat with finely chopped onion, egg, and breadcrumbs flavored with various spices, and made into a flat, oval shape about 4 centimeters thick and 10 to 15 centimeters in diameter. In Hawaii, Hamburger steak is very similar to the Japanese hanbagu. It consists of a burger patty with brown gravy. It is usually served with macaroni salad and rice in a plate lunch. It's fascinating how these American dishes have traveled the world and adapted to local tastes. The Japanese version shows how hamburger steak can evolve while staying true to its essential character. Meanwhile, Salisbury steak has remained more distinctly American in its identity and preparation methods. The truth is, both hamburger steak and Salisbury steak deserve a place at your dinner table. They represent different approaches to the same basic idea, taking ground beef and turning it into something special. Whether you prefer the straightforward honesty of hamburger steak or the complex sophistication of Salisbury steak probably says something about your personality. But why choose sides when you could just appreciate them both for what they bring to the world of comfort food? After all, variety is what makes dining interesting, and these two dishes prove that even the simplest ingredients can take completely different paths to deliciousness.